So Piers Morgan, the TV talk show host and journalist, has recently launched a new TV show in the UK and America called Piers Morgan Uncensored. And for his first interview, he did an interview with Donald Trump, the former president, and they put out a trailer that made it look like it was extremely aggressive and volatile, and that Trump walked out, and the Murdoch-owned newspapers were sort of saying beforehand, explosive interview, get ready to watch it, and it was really hyped up. And then I actually watched the interview, and it was actually majorly calm and collected, and just what you'd expect of two people having a conversation, sharing their views. And Trump didn't really walk out, actually. They kind of manipulated the footage. And this isn't to give an opinion, really, on either of them. It's really just to make a comment on the nature of the media and social media and news and society today, and politics as well, which is the clickbait kind of culture that we live in now. And what happens is people feel that in order to get attention, whether it's for their political views or for their TV show or for their social media or their Twitter, whatever it is, they've got to be as radical, as out there, as provocative as possible. And so, I even looked at some of the adverts that were put all across the UK for Piers Morgan's new show, where it sort of said, love him or hate him, you won't want to miss him, encouraging people to feel a sense of strong opinions towards him, and you won't want to miss him, as if it's going to be something so overly exciting and overwhelming. And do you know what? Politics, which is about how do we improve society, and discourse and sharing ideas and whatever it is, entertainment on social media. There's no problem with trying to be expressive and charismatic and all those things. But when the tone and increasing the radical nature of what you say and the over-the-top nature of what you say and stirring up conflict and divisiveness becomes a tool through which you can get across your point of view and get people to put their attention towards you, you end up actually sacrificing a lot along the way, because it damages civil discourse, and you may end up expressing your views in ways that are necessarily polarizing and divisive just because you feel that that's the way you're going to get attention. And this clickbait culture that we have actually is encouraged by social media and media generally, because people feel that to get that quick fix click and that attention span of someone, then you need to be really provocative, because it is exciting to see conflict and to see radical views. And then that means that you get more money because you get more advertising revenue and you get more attention, and people think that they can rise that way, whether it's politically or socially or in the media, whatever it is. And it's really not healthy for society. So clickbait culture clearly is a problem. And the society we live in encourages that kind of quick clip that will make you entertained or laugh or in shock. But there is some good news, which is that I found from doing a bit of work in politics when I was much younger, and work experience and speaking to people from all kinds of different political views, is that often, especially when it's not the big loudmouth kind of people in the world of politics, the people who may be in certain camps, if you talk to them privately, more often than not, and certainly for the general population, most people are fairly open to conversation with other sides, less kind of stuck in one particular viewpoint and unable to indulge in any other form of communication, at the very least able to have communication with other points of view when they don't feel that the cameras are on them or they need to get attention, etc., etc. And I think part of the evidence for this is the rise of long-form podcasts, long-form interviews, where people are getting fed up of these short 3-minute debates that you see on TV where two people are just shouting at each other, or those kinds of things. And people are saying, actually, you know what, no, this is not helpful. It may be a bit entertaining, but I'm fed up of this. Let's go a bit deeper. Let's actually try and do something that can be genuinely improving for society by having real conversations that can actually not encourage us to become more and more polarized, but encourage us to have conversations. And conversation doesn't necessarily mean compromise. It just means understanding other people's concerns and point of view. And I have to say that I find that when you look at Judaism and the way that you see teshuvot, responsa given to halachic issues in Jewish law, they really are the complete opposite of this clickbait, polarized culture that we see in the world today, where the answers that we give and the viewpoints that Judaism gives when it comes to all kinds of issues, philosophical, practical, ethical, moral, the answers are nuanced. They take into account various considerations. And as Rabbi Tatz once put it, he said, when it comes to the laws of how we speak in Judaism, lashon hara, lashon tov, speaking positively and not speaking negatively, everything one is meant to say should be absolutely necessary, absolutely true, and absolutely kind. Now, sometimes you have to juggle all those three, and sometimes there might be some kind of compromise in between all of those things. But imagine that. Imagine if people knew that when they had to engage in discourse on Twitter or in the media or in politics, that everything they said had to be necessary, true, and kind. Imagine what a different world we'd live in. And one example I'd like to give of this is in the debate around abortion. So obviously this is at the front and center of people's minds at the moment in America because of everything that's happening with the Supreme Court. But there really are two totally polarized camps in the debate in America and in much of the West, which is the pro-life camp and the pro-choice camp. The one that says, a fetus in the womb is a separate body and that life is literally the same in terms of its value as the mother. And then the pro-choice camp, which says, no, it's part of the woman's body, some say even until the moment of birth. And this is an example where polarized views and an inability to take into account various considerations and think things through perhaps in a deeper level that takes more than a 2-minute clickbait debate. Here, this is where I think the Jewish approach of hearing and taking into account various considerations and factors becomes so apparent. We actually just put up a video on our social media recently of a clip we did at a school with Rabbi Daniel Rowe, where he was asked a question about abortion and he explains the Jewish position. And we'll put a link to that in the video description below. But I'd like to read to you what the Orthodox Union came out with. They came out with a statement just recently about this whole matter. And I'd like to read it to you to show you the way in which Judaism has a profound ability to do the opposite of what clickbait culture does, which is to radically simplify and polarize and divide and not take into account various considerations. I'm just going to let the statement do the talking for itself. Have a listen to this. The Orthodox Union is unable to either mourn or celebrate the news reports of the US Supreme Court's likely overturning of Roe v. Wade. We cannot support absolute bans on abortion at any time point in a pregnancy. That would not allow access to abortion in life-saving situations. Similarly, we cannot support legislation that permits abortion on demand at any time point in a pregnancy, and does not confine abortion to situations in which medical, including mental health, professionals affirm that carrying the pregnancy to term poses real risk to the life of the mother. As people of faith, we see life as a precious gift granted to us and maintained within us by God. Jewish law places paramount value on choosing life, and mandates, not as a right but as a responsibility, safeguarding our own lives and the lives of others by behaving in a healthy and secure manner, doing everything in our power to save lives and refraining from endangering others. This concern for even potential life extends to the unborn fetus and to the terminally ill. Abortion on demand, the right to choose, as well as the right to die, are thus completely at odds with our religious and halachic views. Legislation and court rulings that enshrine such rights concern us deeply on a societal level. Yet that same mandate to preserve life requires us to be concerned for the life of the mother. Jewish law prioritizes the life of the pregnant mother over the life of the fetus, such that where the pregnancy critically endangers the physical health or mental health of the mother, an abortion may be authorized, if not mandated, by halacha, Jewish law, and should be available to all women irrespective of their economic status. Legislation and court rulings federally or in any states that absolutely ban abortion without regard for the health of the mother would literally limit our ability to live our lives in accordance with our responsibility to preserve life. The extreme polarization around and politicization of the abortion issue does not bode well for a much needed nuanced result. Human life, the value of everyone created in the divine image, is far too important to be treated as a political football. That statement, I think, speaks for itself. Truth is not always binary. It's either that option or this option. Sometimes you have to consider various factors, and you'll notice there that there is not a compromising of their values. It's very clear what the value is, preserving life, but the way that manifests sometimes means you have to take into account various circumstances. Now, that statement might not have been the most clickbaity, exciting, 2-minute, radical, punchy answer, but you know what? That is a fundamental truth of life, that the truth is not always found in a clear binary A or B choice. Sometimes it is, but sometimes truth can be complex, nuanced, and balancing various different competing factors. And it might not be as exciting and clickbaity, but it's profound and it's true and it's real. So I think society generally, from my experience in talking to people outside the world of social media and politics, recognizes this and is becoming more and more aware that social media and media are encouraging this very unhealthy, divisive type of communication with one another and expressing and determining morals and values. And I think as much as social media has been pushing us to think in this way, slowly as a society we are beginning to recognize this isn't healthy, and more importantly, it's not true. I'm Ollie Annisfeld and you're watching JTV.